You live where? My sister's voice cracked on the last word. The marble sample, the one she'd been showing everyone for the past 20 minutes, slipped from her fingers and hit the new hardwood floor with a hollow clack. To understand the look on her face, you have to understand the 15 years that led to it. I was 31 when Sharonda got married. The wedding was in Charleston, white tent on the lawn, string quartet, 200 guests. I flew in from Ramstein Air Base wearing my service dress and a smile that hurt my face. Mom introduced me to relatives I'd never met. This is LaTanya, my youngest. She's in the Air Force. The way she said it, like an apology. Sharonda wore Vera Wang. Her fiancé Trevor owned 3 car dealerships. Their registry was at Williams-Sonoma. During the rehearsal dinner, Trevor's mother asked what I did in the Air Force. I'm a pilot, I said. Oh, how nice. She smiled the way people smile at children. Flying those big transport planes? Something like that. Sharonda cut in before I could elaborate. LaTanya moves around constantly, never in one place longer than 2 years. Must be exhausting, right, sis? Everyone nodded sympathetically. What I didn't say, I flew C-17S. What I didn't say, I just returned from a mission, evacuating civilians from a conflict zone. What I didn't say, I'd logged 3,000 flight hours and held a top-secret security clearance. What I said, it keeps me busy. That was the beginning of the pattern. 5 years later, Sharonda bought her first house. A brick colonial in a neighborhood where all the streets were named after trees. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, a backyard with a privacy fence. Mom cried when she saw it. Actual tears. I'm so proud of you, baby, she said, holding Sharonda's face. You've built something real. I was sitting on the new sectional sofa, drinking wine from a glass that still had the price sticker on the bottom. I'd flown in from Qatar for Christmas. I'd been gone 9 months. LaTanya, you should think about buying something, Trevor said. He meant well. He always meant well. Building equity. It's important for your future. Hard to buy property when you're never in one place, Sharonda said lightly. She'll be moving again in, 6 months? 4, I said, reassignment to Peterson. See, Sharonda laughed, like a tumbleweed. Mom patted my knee. Maybe someday you'll settle down, honey. Have a real home. A real home. I was 36 years old. I'd just been promoted to major. I'd flown combat missions, humanitarian relief operations, presidential support missions. I'd landed a C-17 in conditions that would ground commercial aircraft. I'd made decisions that saved lives. But I didn't have a house with a white picket fence, so I didn't have a real home. The kitchen renovation started 2 years ago. Sharonda posted about it constantly. Demolition photos, design boards, paint swatches. She'd hired a designer, someone who'd worked on an HGTV show. The budget was $60,000. $60,000, I repeated when she told me over the phone. I was in my apartment in Colorado Springs. It was temporary housing. Clean, functional, forgettable. That's a lot. It's an investment, she said. This house is our legacy, something we're building for our future, for our kids. You wouldn't understand. You wouldn't understand. Because I'd never stayed anywhere long enough to repaint a wall, let alone renovate a kitchen. Last December, my furnace died. It was 11 degrees outside. I woke up at 2 a.m. shivering under 3 blankets. The repair estimate was $4,000. I called Mom because, I don't know why. Habit. Hope. 4,000? Her voice was sharp. LaTanya, that's excessive. Did you get multiple quotes? It's the middle of winter, Mom. I need heat. This is what I'm talking about, honey. You need to learn to budget better. You make decent money, but you waste it on rent and moving expenses. If you'd bought property like your sister... I'll handle it, I said. You can't just throw money at every problem. That's not how adults manage finances. I hung up, charged the repair to my credit card, sat in my warming apartment at 3 a.m. and stared at the wall. 3 weeks later, Mom told me she'd given Sharonda $30,000 for marble countertops. It's an investment in her home, Mom explained when I asked. She's building something permanent. Something that matters. Quote. The party invitation came via text. Kitchen reveal party! Saturday, 3 p.m. Bring champagne! I almost didn't go. I was exhausted. Bone deep, soul tired, exhausted. I'd just finished a week of briefings at the Pentagon. I'd been promoted to lieutenant colonel 6 months earlier. I was next in line for a command position. I was 46 years old, and I was tired of proving myself to people who'd never see me clearly anyway. But I went. Because she was my sister, because Mom would be there, because some stupid, stubborn part of me kept hoping that maybe this time would be different. The house smelled like fresh paint and lemon cleaning solution. Sharonda had hired a photographer. There was a table set up with champagne flutes and canapes arranged on slate boards. 15 people milled around the kitchen, oohing and ahing over the farmhouse sink and the custom cabinet pulls. "LaTanya!" Mom hugged me, then held me at arm's length. "You look tired, honey. Are you sleeping enough?" "Hi, Mom. Come see the kitchen. It's just beautiful. Sharonda worked so hard on this." The kitchen was objectively nice. White shaker cabinets, quartz countertops, not marble, I noted, brushed nickel hardware. A 6-burner gas range that probably cost more than my car. Pendant lights hanging over an island big enough to land a small aircraft on. Sharonda was holding court by the refrigerator, explaining her design choices to a cluster of friends. She saw me and waved. "LaTanya, you made it!" She hugged me, smelling like expensive perfume and hairspray. "What do you think?" "It's beautiful," I said honestly. "You did an amazing job." "Thank you." She beamed. "It was so much work. I mean, the planning alone took months. And managing the contractors? Absolute nightmare. But we got there." Trevor appeared with champagne. "We should do a toast." Everyone gathered. Sharonda stood by the island, Trevor's arm around her waist. She was glowing. Genuinely happy. And I was happy for her. I was. She'd worked hard for this. She deserved to celebrate. "I just want to thank everyone for coming," Sharonda said. "And especially Mom, for believing in us and helping make this dream a reality." Mom wiped her eyes. "I'm so proud of you, baby. You worked so hard for this." They embraced. Everyone applauded. No one mentioned the $30,000. But I knew. And Sharonda knew I knew. And in the way she looked at me over Mom's shoulder, triumphant, vindicated, I understood that this party wasn't just about a kitchen. It was about having arrived. About being the successful daughter. About building something permanent while her younger sister drifted from base to base, unanchored and alone. After the toast, I tried to slip away. I was standing by the back door, holding an untouched glass of champagne, when Sharonda's friend Ashley cornered me. "So what do you do, LaTanya?" "I'm in the Air Force." "Oh, fun! What's that like?" "Fun." She said fun like I was a camp counselor. "It's fulfilling," I said carefully. "Do you get to stay in one place, or are you bouncing around?" "I move every few years." "God, I could never do that. I need roots, you know? Stability. Don't you want to settle down eventually?" Ashley!" Sharonda appeared, slightly flushed from champagne. "Stop interrogating my sister. She's commitment phobic." Everyone laughed, including me, because what else could I do? "I'm kidding," Sharonda said, squeezing my shoulder. "But seriously, LaTanya, when are you going to buy a place? You're not getting any younger." "I like the flexibility," I said. "Flexibility," she smiled. "That's one word for it." Mom joined us. "Sharonda's right, honey. You need stability. A foundation. You can't live in base housing forever." "I don't live in base housing," I said quietly. "Well, whatever it is, renting. It's just throwing money away. If you'd invested 10 years ago like your sister." "I should get going," I said. "Early morning tomorrow." "You just got here," Sharonda protested. "I know. I'm sorry. Work stuff." That was true, actually. I had a 6 a.m. video conference with commanders at 3 different bases. But more than that, I just needed to leave. Needed to get out of this perfect kitchen with its perfect appliances and its perfect reminder that I'd somehow failed at the most basic measure of success. I was gathering my purse when Mom stopped me. "Before you go, you got some mail at my house. It was addressed to you but sent to my address. I think it's junk, but I grabbed it just in case." She handed me a large envelope, county seal in the corner. "Thanks," I said, shoving it in my purse without looking. Sharonda found me in the driveway 10 minutes later. "Hey, wait." She was carrying the envelope. "This fell out of your purse. I think you..." Oh! She'd opened it. Not maliciously, I don't think. She'd probably assumed it was junk mail, something to throw away. But her hands had torn the flap, and the document had slid out, and now she was staring at it. Property tax notice. My name, my address. Assessed value, $2.3 million. You live where? She said. The silence stretched between us. Inside, someone laughed. Music played. The party continued, oblivious. LaTanya! Sharonda's voice was strange, flat. What is this? My property tax bill. For a house worth. She looked at the paper again. $2.3 million? Yes. You own a house worth $2.3 million. Yes. Where? Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs. She repeated it like I'd said Mars. You've been living in Colorado Springs in a house worth $2.3 million. And you never mentioned it. You never asked. She stopped, started again. We thought you lived in base housing, military housing. We thought you were struggling. I know what you thought. Why didn't you correct us? I took the paper from her hands, folded it carefully. Would you have believed me? That's not. Would you have, Sharonda? If I'd told you 3 years ago that I owned a house in the mountains with 6 acres and a view of Pikes Peak, would you have believed me? Or would you have assumed I was lying? Exaggerating? Making myself sound more important than I actually was? Her face did something complicated. That's not fair. You called me a tumbleweed. You said I was commitment phobic. You told Mom I needed to learn to budget better when I asked for help with my furnace, while you were asking her for $30,000 for countertops. She offered? I don't care. My voice was quiet, deadly quiet. I don't care about the money, Sharonda. I care that you've spent 15 years treating me like a failure because my life doesn't look like yours. We didn't. You did. Every family dinner. Every phone call. Every time you introduced me to someone and made sure to mention that I move around constantly, or that I can't settle down. Like I was defective. Like my choices were mistakes. We were worried about you. Bullshit, the word came out sharp. You were worried that my life made you look bad. That your younger sister wasn't following the script. Wasn't getting married, buying a house with a white picket fence, posting renovation photos on Instagram. She flinched. I bought that house 4 years ago, I said. Paid cash. Because I'm a lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force, and I've been flying aircraft worth $200 million for the past 15 years. I don't live in base housing, I don't struggle with rent, I don't need advice on how adults manage their finances. Why didn't you tell us? Because I shouldn't have to. Mom came outside. What's going on? Sharonda, honey, you're... She saw my face, then the paper in my hand. What happened? Ask your daughter, I said. Ask her about my property tax bill. Property tax? Mom looked confused. But you don't. Own anything? I finished. Don't have equity? Don't have anything real? I handed her the document. She read it. Her face went pale. LaTanya, this says $2.3 million. Yes. But how? How does someone in the Air Force afford a house like that? I smiled, and it felt like glass cutting my face. Turns out, if you spend 24 years working your ass off, getting promoted, taking command positions, flying combat missions, you make decent money. And if you don't spend it on weddings and renovations and keeping up with the Joneses, you can save it. We didn't know, Mom whispered. You didn't ask. You never said. I tried, Mom. God knows I tried. But every time I mentioned work, you glazed over. Every time I explained what I did, you changed the subject. You didn't want to know, because knowing would mean admitting that your idea of success, house, husband, kids, white picket fence, wasn't the only path. Sharonda was crying now, silent tears running down her face, ruining her makeup. I thought, she stopped, I thought I was better than you. I know, quote, I thought you were lost, floating, that you'd wasted your life. I know. And instead, she gestured at the paper, instead, you've been living in a fucking mansion. It's not a mansion, I said. It's a house. My house. The one I bought with my salary. The one I earned. Mom was still staring at the tax bill. Why did this come to my address? Because I used it as my permanent address when I first enlisted. I never changed it. Didn't think it mattered. All these years, Mom said softly, we've been treating you like a failure. I finished. Like someone who needed your pity, your concern, your advice on how to be a real adult. I'm sorry, Sharonda said. God, LaTanya, I'm so sorry. Are you? I looked at her, really looked at her. Or are you just sorry you were wrong? She opened her mouth, closed it, had no answer. Inside, the party continued. Someone laughed. Glass clinked. Trevor called Sharonda's name, oblivious. I'm leaving, I said. Thank you for the party. Your kitchen is beautiful. You should be proud. LaTanya. I mean it. You worked hard for this. You should celebrate. I pulled my keys from my purse. But stop using my life as a cautionary tale. Stop treating my choices like mistakes. I'm not lost, Sharonda. I never was. I got in my car, started the engine. Mom was still standing there, holding the tax bill like evidence at a crime scene. Sharonda was still crying. I should have felt triumphant, vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. 3 days later, Mom called. I almost didn't answer, but something, guilt, hope, habit, made me pick up. LaTanya. Her voice was raw. Can we talk? We're talking. I mean, really talk, not like this, in person. I'm in Colorado, Mom. I know. I booked a flight. I'll be there Friday, if that's okay. I closed my eyes. Why? Because I need to see it, the house, your life, because I need to understand what I've been missing. It might be too late for that. Maybe, she said quietly, but I have to try. She arrived on Friday afternoon. I picked her up at the airport and we drove in silence through the mountains, up the winding road to my property. Through the gate, up the long driveway lined with aspens. When the house came into view, timber frame, floor-to-ceiling windows, the mountains rising behind it, Mom made a sound. Oh, honey! I parked. We got out. The air was thin and clean, pine-scented. This is yours? She asked. This is mine. We walked through the house. She didn't say much. Just touched things, the granite counters, the reclaimed wood floors, the windows overlooking the valley. In my office, she stopped at the wall of photos. Me in flight gear, me with my squadron, me receiving my lieutenant colonel rank. I don't know any of these people, she said. I know. I don't know your life. I know. She turned to face me. How did I miss this? You saw what you wanted to see. No, she shook her head. I saw what I was afraid to lose. Sharonda's life made sense to me. It looked like mine. Yours, she gestured helplessly. Yours was foreign. Scary. I didn't know how to be proud of something I didn't understand. So you pretended I was failing? I told myself you needed guidance, that I was helping. She laughed bitterly. God, I was so condescending. All those comments about stability, about budgeting, about settling down. They hurt, I said simply. I know, I see that now. She wiped her eyes. Can you forgive me? Eventually, maybe, I don't know yet. That's fair. We stood there in my office, surrounded by a life she'd never bothered to see. Your father would have been proud, she said finally. He always said you'd do something extraordinary. Dad had died when I was 12, before I'd enlisted, before any of this. He used to say you had wings, Mom continued, even when you were little. He'd watch you climb trees, jump off the porch, and he'd say, that girl's got wings. Someday she'll fly. I didn't know that. I should have told you, she touched my face. I should have told you a lot of things. I should have asked questions. I should have listened. Yes, I said, you should have. Can I start now? I thought about it, about 15 years of dismissal, about all the times I'd tried to be seen and been overlooked, about the exhaustion of performing strength while being treated like weakness. You can try, I said. Over the next year, things shifted. Not fixed, shifted. Mom visited 3 more times, asked questions, listened to answers, looked at me like she was seeing someone new, someone she'd somehow missed for decades. Sharonda sent emails, long, rambling apologies, admissions of jealousy, confessions that my independence had scared her, threatened her sense of self-worth. I responded sometimes. Short replies, I appreciate this. Thank you for being honest. I need more time. We didn't rebuild the relationship, we built a new one. Awkward, uncertain, but at least honest. At Thanksgiving, when we were all together again, Sharonda introduced me to her friends. This is my sister, LaTanya. She's a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. No qualifiers, no apologies, just the truth. It was something. Last month, I got orders for my next assignment. Squadron commander at Travis Air Force Base. Another move, another base, another chapter in a career that had never followed their script. I called Mom to tell her. California, she said, that's far. It's a good assignment, Mom. I know, honey. I'm proud of you. The words were simple, overdue, but they landed in a place that had been hollow for a very long time. Thank you, I said. Will you sell the Colorado house? No, I'll keep it. Rent it out while I'm gone. It'll be here when I come back. When you come back, she repeated, not if. When? Because I'd learned something in those 15 years of being misunderstood, dismissed, and underestimated. I'd learned that I didn't need their validation to build a life worth living. I didn't need their approval to know my own worth. But it was nice, finally.